What's up, my friends? Griff and I have decided to talk about one of our favorite subjects, and that is smallmouth bass. Now, I love smallmouth bass.
Yes.
It is, without question, the greater species of all the bass species. So, Jeff's raising his eyebrows, but I'm right. Now, today we decided to maybe just have a little bit of a deep dive through some baits, and we each went around and picked 5 baits each that we feel are super under the radar for that early season smallmouth. So I know a lot of you guys are up north, in Michigan, Ohio, and New York. This is all gonna apply to you. Griff is super amazing at catching smallmouth on just ridiculous ways down here. So if you guys are in southern states or in the Midwest, this is all gonna apply to you as well. So we're not talking about normal traditional things today. We're talking about weird, off the cuff, under the radar baits for early season smallmouth.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Welcome to the Hookup Tackle.
Oh, what a stud.
Yeah. Look at that.
That was sick. Cheers, my friends. Happy Sunday. All right, guys, some breaking news. What's new this week at the Hookup Tackle?
What a beautiful post-spawn fish.
Look at that.
Look at that cut on that.
That's a nice fish.
All right, welcome back, my friends. I'm Ben with the Hookup Tackle, a tackle otaku on Instagram, being joined by G-Sticks Bespoke on Instagram, and our buddy that we've already lost because we talked shit about largemouth already.
Oh, man.
Jeffrey the King, the Whiner. Jeffrey the Whiner on Instagram.
Jeffrey Whiner.
We should start a new page for him. Plus, I got the squeaky chair today. So, thanks, Jeff.
Look at the draw.
Oh, okay. All right, we're the Hookup Tackle USA. Today we're talking about under the radar baits and techniques and ways to catch smallmouth that's just a little bit different than stuff that we traditionally talk about. So usually when we talk about early season smallmouth, like if we're just gonna go out and try to catch a fish, you kind of just need like an Okashira screwhead and a spark shad,
Yep.
free rig,
Yep.
jerk bait.
Yep.
Like you can kind of take those everywhere and catch smallmouth.
Yeah.
Right? But there's days where they get tough and there's 9 million boats and sometimes you just want to have fun and do something different, right? So today we're going to talk about some baits that maybe you're not thinking of that are really effective for smallmouth in early season, and maybe shed some light on some cool, new, fun ways to catch them.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Well, since we started talking about fun, why don't you start us off? Because I know your pile's always more fun than my pile.
Yes. I am going to reach into the fun pile.
Maybe the most ridiculous smallmouth bait.
Boom. All right. The I Wing 135. All right. When the water starts to warm up and these fish start moving up, a topwater is a great way to do it. But a slow moving topwater, and not like a walking bait or a popper or something like that. Something big that's going to get their attention. It's going to make a lot of noise, but it's going to be very slow.
So you're fishing this barely with any movement.
Yes.
On it.
So the wings are, I mean, they're barely moving. It's not going to get a lot of the plop that we hear from walker or crawlers.
Yep.
But it's just going to make that internal noise, that clacking, that.
So inside of an I Wing, a lot of you guys are familiar with the I Wing, but inside there's a rudder with a weight on it. And as that bait moves, that rudder shifts, right? So it's basically just shifting like this as it moves. And it's just creating that kind of just one knock sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the water, it echoes really loud. It's pretty loud when it's out there. And it's moving so slow that the fish can see it. It's an easy meal for them, like right when they start getting on the hunt.
Yep.
And when they hit it, it's just pure violence.
Is this a pre-spawn, a spawn, a post-spawn? Where in the mode are you throwing this thing?
I'm going to start at pre-spawn, and then
Okay.
I'm going to throw it through the whole summer.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. This is probably the only smallmouth video on the planet that starts with an I Wing.
Yeah.
But I've seen it almost every time you and me go out.
Yeah.
You catch a damn fish on the I Wing. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
And it's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You should
So
try it.
some of the dopest eats, well, I do try it. I don't catch them and I go, they're not eating this thing. You literally throw in the same place that I throw it in and you catch them.
Yeah. You gotta have that touch.
Skill. I Wing skill.
The
I
Midas
guess.
touch.
Good way to start us.
Hey.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to boring. Okay, for me, we talked about the Okashira screwhead, right? This is probably this is smallmouth crack, right? Really the only thing you need probably to catch a smallmouth.
Yeah.
But there are some other baits on the market that are designed to kind of play in that same realm, right? So in recent years, like Nishini's had the baby Abino that we've caught them really good on. Well, the newest bait kind of in this category is this guy from Bottom Up, and this is the Bottom Up Jolly. Now this guy is still super under the radar because I think it's misunderstood a lot.
Yeah.
So a lot of you guys live in places where they smoke the Okashira screwhead and they smoke the spy bait, right? This is kind of a combination between those two. And there's a ton of colors, there's matte finishes, there's shiny finishes, there's all kinds of stuff. But this is essentially a slow sinking kind of Okashira screwhead spy bait hybrid baby, if that's a thing.
Hybrid bait.
Okay, so it looks like a wake bait, but it's a sinking. So as it moves, it tracks straight. It has just enough movement to where the body has a real tight swim without it being overly exaggerated. And just that little prop in that back there, kind of giving that spy bait, you know, flash and sound. Circuit board lip that allows it to bounce up over obstacles if you do hit something. It's a great one for controlled depth fishing, which is kind of where that Okashira screwhead comes into play so much. So if you're fishing a big flat and it's 2 to 4 feet, it's really easy to control your depth. You can throw this out, sink it down to 2 feet, swim it in, it's going to stay at that 2-foot zone. Same thing if you're out off a lip and it's 8 feet, you can sink it down to 8 feet, start the slow retrieve, and it's going to stay down there in that 8-foot depth. So just a cool way to mix it up, something different that they're not seeing. It comes with great trebles right out of the box, so literally you can just tie it on and throw it, and it makes a great addition that's totally under the radar for those fish that are seeing a ton of Okashira screwheads. I think at this point every smallmouth angler in the world has it.
Yeah.
They still eat it, so that's why we still all throw it. But there's times where maybe you're in a tournament or maybe you're just fishing behind a bunch of guys, something different. So that is from Bottom Up. That is the Bottom Up Jolly. Let me spec it for you real quick so you guys know what you're dealing with. It is 75 millimeters, 9.2 grams, slow sinking. So really designed for me, it's one where I'm fishing shallow flats. Same stuff I fished the Okashira screwhead. That's where that's going. Jolly.
It's great to
#1.
fish in current too.
Oh, you like this in current?
Yeah, you can cast it out there, and it will sink in the current. It's going to move, but it's not going to move that fast.
Yep.
And you just get a slow roll on it, and dude, it gets.
And they smoke it.
Yeah, it gets smoked.
Sweet. So give it a try. I think a lot of you guys will catch a ton of fish if you give it a try. Yeah, it's cool. What's
Yeah.
number 2 for you?
Number 2 for me, it's going to be the high cut.
Okay.
All right.
This is less fun and more practical.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's it's
Not that it's not fun, but it's not less crazy. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
Yeah.
Less griff crazy, more practical.
So this one I will fish. This is the actual floating version of it.
'Kay.
Right. And this one I fish in current almost specifically for smallmouth.
Okay.
Like when I'm fishing for smallmouth, I love to throw this in like over top of grass, over the current, and I'll kind of just like pull it and then let it pause, and then the current will kind of make it bumble or roll around a little bit, and as it's coming up, it's got a ton of action as it's just coming up, and when those fish, when they're in those grass flats, they'll just come up and just smack it, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think a floating is so important this time of the year.
Yeah.
In shallow water where it's current or lake situations.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like 5 to 6 foot, but you can still fish it over like 10 to 15 feet of water. It makes a lot of noise and it makes a lot of movement, and these fish will just come out and
Yeah.
they'll just eat it. Once they're getting ready to transition from the current to the still water, this is a killer right here.
Why do you prefer a shad style bait over, say, like a traditional jerk bait?
I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of a jerk bait.
Okay.
Period. I know they catch a ton of fish, but this one right here just gives me a lot more control of where it's at. I don't want to jerk the bait, I want to pull it.
Okay.
Right? And I just want it to shimmy and pause and shimmy and pause and
Okay.
shimmy and pause.
So it's a little easier to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives me, I need to be doing something at all times, and this is not.
That's not your idea of fun?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I can just
This
change
this is fun, but this isn't
well, I'm
fun?
moving a lot quicker than that.
Okay.
And it's,
All right.
it's the only time I use that bait without a weight on it too.
Interesting. Is this time of the year?
Yeah.
And that's just to control the depth?
Yeah.
Shallow?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, just going to jump to number 2 also, because I also have a floating bait, but I have a jerk bait because I think jerk baits are fun.
Yeah. It's like the Ned rig of hard plastics.
I don't know what that even means. So you guys are used to throwing 110s, of course, right? I mean, everybody owns this. There are times when it's windy, when those fish are sitting off, ledges in deeper water. You just can't beat a traditional jerk bait. But to kind of mirror what Griff's talking about, when those fish move up shallow, you can't really throw a suspending jerk bait through a bunch of grass. You're just going to be bogging it into grass. You're going to be snagging the stuff, and those fish are kind of lethargic still, kind of chill. They don't want shit just ripping through their homes, right? So I also opt for a floating jerk bait. Now I talk about floating jerk baits a lot, so I went under the radar with this guy. This is the OSP Asura in the floating version. Okay, so this guy's a 93 millimeter, weighs 8 grams, so a little over a quarter ounce, but you can still throw this on a casting rod. So I'll still throw this on like my 110 stick because it does have a really good weight transfer system in it that locks in place, so it throws really well. It's a longer bait, but it's really thin, right? So it's got a really nice natural kind of minnow profile, and this is going to be more of a twitch, 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 and then let it float back up, right? So I want this to basically come just to the surface, and then I'm going to twitch it under the surface, let it float back up. We're going to eat it. See how good that looks?
There it is.
Right? So I like the Asura because even in a small package like this, it's got the 3 treble hooks. And smallmouth this time of the year tend to either be super aggressive or kind of lazy. And a lot of times those lazy bites, that extra treble hook in there will get them, and I just land more fish, right? So for me, I like the activity of a jerkbait. I don't know if it just calms me down, but I like the constant movement. You like the sweep.
Yeah.
Both good options. They're both going to basically accomplish the same thing.
Same thing,
Throwing
yeah.
them in the same area. So it just depends on if you want to do one retrieve or the other, or it might depend on what they're eating. Maybe they want it to be a little, more of just a pull, and maybe they want it to be a little more erratic. So some options. There's number 2 from both of us, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, what's number 3?
Number 3 for me is going to be the EGU Dama. So
Interesting.
finesse jig, but specifically this jig right here.
Okay.
Right? And I like to, a EGU Bug as the trailer. I love to fish this jig near cover.
Okay.
Because you can hang this jig on stuff.
So like tree limbs,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Something that's hanging over
Okay.
the water.
What if there isn't anything hanging over the water? What if it's just a big flat grass, sand, rock? Do you still throw it, or is this a cover specific thing for you?
Well, I like to throw it in cover, but it works the same as a jig.
Okay.
If you're not near the cover, but I mean, you get something, you cast your line over it, and it's just gonna hang there horizontally, and then you wiggle it, and it's just that trailer in the back is just gonna be shaking.
Yep.
Not a ton of movement on there. You just kind of like shaking it over. And again, smallmouth love to travel to eat. They'll come from far away. If
Yep.
they can see it, they're gonna at least look at it.
Yeah.
And then it's up to you to get them to bite it. Right?
It's a supernatural bait. In the lighter sizes, you guys can even fish it like a hair jig.
Yeah.
So it can certainly be an early season hair jig replacement if you guys are throwing, more of traditional marabou or hair jig style. The EGU Dama can replace it. It's going to stay level, so it stays horizontal as it moves. So as you lift and drop, it's going to stay level. It doesn't really have that traditional jig kind of vertical fallout, which makes it super dope.
Yeah.
So, all right, I like this. I like mixing in some finesse. This would be like maybe your free rig replacement.
Yeah.
Something just finessey.
So you know, like when we go to the river,
Yeah.
there's always those overhanging trees. But
Mhm.
if you cast like a free rig or something like that, it's just gonna wrap around a branch or something
Right.
like that. This way you can get close and just kind of flip it over.
Okay.
And just let it hang there.
You just kind of shake it right in that spot and keep it in the strike zone.
Yeah.
Up and down. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, number 3, I'm gonna stay in, let's talk about some Raid 2. I was gonna save this for later, but okay. If you are fortunate enough to get some of these bad boys, the rubber dice, this is an absolute just slaughter fest if you get them. A super dope bait for sight fishing cruisers. You can fish it on a drop shot. You guys are gonna catch a ton of fish on it, but this is no longer under the radar. Last year I'd say this was under the radar, but now I think this is straight on everybody's radar. So for something that's designed to kind of do the same thing that's still under the radar for now, the Raid 2-way. Now they make this in multiple sizes, okay? I'm specifically talking about the 2-way and the little 2-way. There's also a big 2-way, there's a Magnum 2-way. Each one just gets bigger or smaller in size. But basically this guy was designed to do essentially the same thing as the dice, right? You can fish it weightless, or you can fish it on a drop shot. You can play with the riggings. There's guys that even put it on like a Jika rig or a free rig. But as this thing falls weightless, essentially you've just kind of got like this little Senko with these tentacles out there. And even though it's kind of buggy looking, there's not very many like bright chartreuse bugs slowly falling through the water,
Yeah.
right? It's really just something that's interesting falling down. It's got ribs, so it's creating a little bit of a feel, and the fish just see it, and just out of curiosity and investigation, they just try it.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same idea as the dice, right? There's no hairy dice falling from the sky in nature, but it's so weird and subtle that it just seems so harmless to just, let me see what that is, right?
See what it tastes like.
Same idea here, okay? So if you're looking for a dice alternative or something just to kind of mix into your lineup, this would be a really dope one. Again, this is the 2-way, right? And you can see it's still relatively small, or the little 2-way is going even smaller there. So those are the two that I would focus on for smallmouth, but it's just a really cool way to do it. I like just fishing at waveless, sight fishing, or on a drop shot.
Yeah.
So simple, easy. Number 3. All right, what do you got number 4, guy?
So the 4 and 5 inch Sakamata shad, I like to put them on a ball head.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess horizontal bait presentations are very important to me this time of year. That seems to be like everything that I'm doing. I've been doing it since this fish I've moved up. The ball head just allows you to fish it horizontally, right? Everybody, there's a different names for it, a mid-stroll, BWA rig, all that stuff, but it all essentially just works the same. You put the ball head on it, you cast it out, you give short twitches of the rod tip, and that bait will just roll, right? It doesn't do a ton of this, it doesn't do a ton of anything else, it just rolls.
Yeah.
Right? So it just gets that flash and it catches the fish's eye and they just come
And they
smoke.
get it.
Dude, they smoke.
So why the Sakamata? Why that over some of the other baits out there?
I think it's the size and the shape of it.
Okay.
Right? So, some of my favorite straight tails, the Victory tail, the Mylar minnow,
yep.
HP Shadtail, things like that.
Fish rollers,
Yeah.
that kind of style?
They're all kind of small,
Okay.
right? And then even though the 4 inch is small, the 5 inch it's a big presentation.
It's a pretty good size bait.
Yeah.
But I think this is something that's important too. A lot of the baits that I've talked about so far today are on the smaller side. But guys, don't be afraid of throwing giant baits for smallmouth, especially if you live somewhere where you have like 3+ pound smallmouth.
Yeah. And if you're just coming from like chilling out in the cold water and you're coming and it's time to eat, you don't want a snack, you want a meal.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's not giant by any
Right,
means.
it's only 5 inches.
5 inches.
Yeah, and an inch of that's probably that tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it goes, it gets this roll. It has these stabilizers right here that won't allow it to like fall sideways or anything like that. So when it does fall with that ball head on there, it falls
Kind of just
horizontally.
stays.
Yeah. It just gives a really good presentation. And those ball heads are so small that it's not sinking super fast.
Let me see that ball head. So you like this? This is a Keitech tungsten.
Yes.
You like the tungsten head?
Yeah. So Keitech tungsten or mist head is my other favorite one that I use a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I love both of them.
Yeah.
This and the midst, both good. Well, I'm gonna just kind of hijack your number 4 because my number 4 also involved a ball head, but I'll keep my ball head here, and it's an HP Shadtail.
Okay. Yeah.
So similar idea. You're imparting more action to it, right, and causing the bait to have that little shimmy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty much putting it on the ball head and fishing it more like a jig.
Okay.
Or I can straight retrieve it. I've got options, right? But the HP Shadtail from OSP is one that kind of flies under the radar because it's similar to like a swing impact from Keitech, where is it a worm or is it a swim bait?
Yeah.
Right? And this is kind of like in that place. So, you know, when you look at a paddle tail swim bait on the wall, you know, if you look at the Keitech or the Spark Shad or the Dolive Shad, they're obviously swim baits.
Yeah.
Right? But then you see a pack of these or you see a pack of swing impacts and you're not really sure if it's a worm or a swim bait. It's actually both.
Yeah.
And if you fish it like a swim bait, it works just like a swim bait. It's just super subtle. So you've got just a little bit longer body. So, you know, you don't have as much body like doing this snaky paddle thing. It's just real tight, right? And then if you fish it like a worm, it fishes just like a worm, but as you move it, it just has more of a paddle movement instead of like a, you know, curly movement or whatever would normally be on a worm.
Yeah.
So I really like the 3.1 inch size here. There's a 3.6 inch size that's great too. The 3.1 is kind of like the magic size for the little ball head for me. And this is something that I'll throw on those days where it's just like glass slick calm, not an ounce of wind, and they won't touch anything fun. This is kind of one of those things where I feel like I can put it on some lighter line, some 4-pound, some 5-pound, and I can just run as much bank as I can run, and I'm gonna scrap some fish up. Catch fish here, I'm gonna catch fish there, I'm gonna catch a fish off some grass here, off that point over there, under that dock over there, like just kind of a junk fishing thing to just always have tied on and pick up some fish here and there. So not one that I want to start on, right? Not one that's the most enjoyable, but one that can be super effective when nothing else is really working. Okay, so give it a shot. It comes in a ton of colors. I usually keep it pretty simple in like bait fish patterns, so like a morning dawn, some of the little chartreuse, just like a natural shad. But they make it in green pumpkins, they make it in cinnamons, they make it in all kinds of stuff. When you're throwing your Sakamata, are you staying in shad colors mostly, or
yes.
How are you choosing your
pure
patterns?
shad, pure bait fish?
Bait
colors.
fish stuff. Yeah.
So
give it a shot. There's number 4 for both of us. All right, end it with a bang, sir. Number 5. What do you got?
all right, so I'm just gonna stay and keep it simple.
Okay.
Right. So this is like a pure like evening bite for me.
Okay.
I like to throw a big rat.
That's not simple.
It's super simple.
It's a rat.
Yeah, simple.
It's in every smallmouth angler's box, Jeff.
Right.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
Early season smallmouth,
Yeah.
Yeah.
rat.
So this is the most fun way to catch them.
Dude, it's
So
nasty
stupid,
when
yeah.
they eat this thing, dude. So, you know, obviously there's different sizes, but I don't really like going smaller than this. Like this one's kind of small. This 30.
Yeah.
They'll eat it, but
The bigger one, once you get bit a time or two on a bigger bait,
Yeah.
whether it's a rat or a glide or a soft plastic or whatever, you realize that you don't have to downsize your bait for smallmouth.
yes.
Like so often we get stuck in this rut, like with some of this little tiny 3-inch bait,
Yeah.
or like that little HP Shadtail I was just showing.
yeah.
But that's not all the time. That's
Yeah.
when it just sucks nuts and they won't eat the good stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
When the visibility is limited and you're making a lot of noise and has a similar shape to stuff that's on the water, they're going to hit it. And you're going to get them hooked well. Like you will find smallmouth with this like all the way down its throat.
Yeah.
Right? They're
Yep.
going to suck it in and they're going to, you know, and you're going to trouble getting it unhooked.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
It's such a fun way to get them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's pure violence. Like
Are you looking for something specific to throw this at? Trees, bank, offshore, grass? Is there any specific target, or are you just everywhere?
I'm gonna fish this as close to the bank as possible.
Okay.
But I'm not looking for anything. The smallmouth that I fish for, they love to cruise like near the bank in the evening time.
Okay.
And that's why I throw this one in the evening time. They're just stuck to the bank and they're cruising. So if you just present them something that looks interesting to them, and it's, you know, this one makes a lot of noise. It gargles and it, you know, it clacks, and they just hit it.
Yeah, you like the 2-piece more than the 3?
For smallmouth, I like the 2-piece.
Okay.
But I have caught them on the 3-piece.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a sick way to catch 'em.
Yeah. So dope.
Just
I mean,
keep
if
it
they'll
simple.
eat that, that's the dopest way to catch them, I think.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple,
Throw a
Jeff.
rat.
Yeah.
Simple.
Nice and easy.
Yes.
One rod, one bait. Relax.
rat.
It's top water.
Rat.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm also going to end with a really fun way,
Oh,
and
thank
that is
God.
a Ned rig.
Hey, Griff, let's go. Grab that rat and let's go. See you later.
So,
Boo.
relax. I like to catch fish. Okay. Look, I don't like a Ned rig, but we're talking about under the radar stuff. All of you guys have these. If you are a northern smallmouth angler, you own 9 gazillion, probably TRD Ned rig things. Why do you look so
I can't believe you're
depressed?
talking about this right now.
Well, it's because we're talking about under the radar, and this is cool enough to talk about. Okay? So, here you go. You look so disappointed. The Wriggle ND Slim from Duo Realis. I don't understand why it's so funny. I hear a 1v1 coming on. Ned rig versus rat challenge.
Weight, total weight.
Total weight, but I get to weigh in all my fish.
Yeah, we all, both get to weigh in all of our fish.
Yeah, all our fish.
And they have to be, yeah,
Okay.
they have to be 12 inches or more.
No.
I like this.
Okay. So, look, I'm not a huge Ned rig fisherman. Griff's obviously not a Ned rig fisherman, right? This is not anywhere in the top 100 things that I would choose to normally do for smallmouth, but I know a lot of you guys live and die by the Ned rig, and a lot of times you just live in a place where this is what they eat, right? So we've talked about some alternatives to Ned rig before, but if you just can't cut that Ned rig off and you need to do it, this is a cool bait that might be worth looking at as an alternative to the Z-Man TRD. Okay, and this is the Wriggle ND Slim. So you can see it's got a pretty bulbous body that is designed on the fall to have more of a quiver. So it's gonna have more of a swim on the way down. When you hop it, it's gonna maintain that swim. So where a normal TRD is basically just gonna lift and drop, this one's going to lift and swim up and then swim down as well, but it maintains the same profile. It's that same elastomer plastic, so you're gonna get a ton of life out of them. It's gonna have that same buoyancy, but they're really clear and they have some great colors too. So, and they're scented. I mean, they smell just like a normal OSP Dolive plastic would. So everything is kind of in the corner for this. Priced the same at $5 a bag. So it's worth giving a shot. It's under the radar now. It's not gonna be under the radar long for Ned rig guys, okay? So I really like these CS colors because they're kind of two-tone colors, but I just wanted to really quickly share some color insight. Bottom Dweller is basically a watermelon green pumpkin with red flake.
These colors are pretty sick.
They are sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though you're not a Ned rig guy, we
Well,
can agree the colors are good.
The colors are sick. Well, the one thing that really sucks about a Ned rig
Yeah.
is that they catch a shit ton of fish.
Yeah.
If you're near smallmouth,
They're gonna eat a Ned.
they're gonna eat a Ned rig.
Yeah. Tundra is the name of this one. It's green pumpkin black flake. Okay, so I don't know why they chose Tundra instead of green pumpkin, but if you're looking, you're like, why is there no green pumpkin? That's what it is. So again, wouldn't be my first choice, but if you guys live somewhere where you Ned rig and you have to do that, or you enjoy doing it,
Yeah.
right? Put it on your radar. I think it's worth considering. There's number 5 for me. Way more fun than that rat.
This is rat 1v1.
I hate this idea. All right, guys, that is a wrap. There is 5 baits from each of us that we feel are under the radar that I know if you implement these, you're gonna catch fish,
Yeah.
but you're gonna have a good time too, especially if you implement mine. Maybe Griff's. All right, Griff's are more fun, mine are more practical, but you actually had some really good ones in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know if we do this, if you guys do this, you're gonna catch a ton of fish. So if you have questions on anything we covered, how we use it, how we rig it, whatever, drop it down below. We'll get answers for you. Jeff will leave links to the products if you guys want to check any of them out closer. So we maybe should just do a 1v1, your 5 versus my 5.
Oh yeah. Let's do it.
Should we do that?
Yeah.
All right,
Hell
deal.
yeah.
All right, guys, have a great early season smallmouth season. I'm repeating everything because I just want to go fishing. So peace out until next time. Cheers, guys.